born. You're going to condense me down to a body.
Right, exactly.
See what I'm saying?
And that's what I always tell people. I don't believe in zodiacs. I believe that we are collectively conditioned to believe in certain things like the zodiacs because that creates this illusion of separation. Or your Aries, I'm an Aquarius. I don't know, your Aries, I'm just saying. And she's a Libra and he's a Leo. So from that moment, you start creating this illusion of separation that we're not the same. We're divided by this concept of zodiacs and planets, and they determine our future. And so I don't believe in that.
And it's so comfortable to read about the horoscope. Oh, you're gonna have this beautiful relationship, and then you just sit and wait for the beautiful relationship to come instead of creating a beautiful relationship with yourself.
Yes.
And you know, you can be all messed up in the head, and
thing.
you want a beautiful relationship just because the zodiac says that.
Right.
So yeah,
I know,
yeah, we don't agree with any of that.
No, I always go, oh, because I feel like
Yes.
a lot of, especially women, believe in all that stuff, and I'm always like, keep your mouth shut, Elena. Just keep your mouth shut,
What do you believe in?
Well, I believe in spirituality, and I believe that it's created, and so and I don't believe I can be destroyed, even though you can destroy this body.
Right.
I don't believe I can be destroyed.
Right.
So to me, like honor, integrity, those are the things I'm bringing with me to wherever I go next.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I'm working on in this lifetime, to set myself up for next lifetime. I think that big. I think in future.
You're planting your seeds in this lifetime. So the next one. Or the next one.
But those are heavy conversations. And not everyone wants to.
Yeah. And when we say meditation, like we don't use meditation like to visualize something and then just wait.
You do it to calm yourself?
It's just not even to calm. No. The way I use meditation, even without speaking for him, is just to connect to that part of me that I call spirit.
Yeah.
That is higher consciousness.
Yep.
That is within me, that lives within me. Whether we call it inner God or higher self,
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
I'm glad you use that word.
I
avoid it, but that's what I feel.
And to listen.
Yeah.
Because I don't call it praying. I just literally, the reason why I call it meditating is because I just sit and listen in silence. I don't play music. I just sit in silence and I listen to myself.
So you're not like trying to go blank.
No. It's just listen, and I'm always receptive to what comes through.
We are trying to quiet the mind, though.
Yeah, for sure.
You're trying to quiet the mind.
At that moment,
I like to let my mind go.
So because sometimes we think all day, so I'm like, okay, just let me shut you down for a second. Let me connect to that aspect, which is my heart, which is that. Well, we believe in chakras because we're energy. So I connect to that aspect of me that is loving, beautiful, and not that the rest isn't. But when I connect to my heart, then there's a different type of communication. It's not at a mind level, it's at a heart level. The heart that's always expansive. And sometimes my mind, personally, I'm not talking about anyone, my mind can be very limited. So if I connect to that aspect that is limitless, then I find different answers than if I were to connect to my mind. But that again, that's my meditation. And everyone's meditation,
that's right.
it's
what works, what works for you. That's why, I don't know why I sit on the Pilates ball, because I can't sit still. I don't like sitting still.
And
not
that
my
works
deal.
for you.
Not my
that's
deal.
a meditation.
But I have, exactly.
Yeah.
It's my form. Like that's when I just, when no one's around and, it seems like I'm doing nothing. But like I'm actually, that's how I had the vision for Cardone Capital. It's how I had the vision for the Cardone licensing program on how to get us all around the globe. It's like a lot of big ideas have come from that bouncing on the Pilates ball.
Oh, wow.
Something.
So when you're on a stage, do you get into a different meditative state?
No.
Or is it just you let that information flow naturally, or is it something that you have prepared already, or is it both?
I've prepared speeches and I've done non-prepared speeches where I'm just like, these are the bullet points in my head that I want to hit, and I just freestyle it. But no, every single time before stage, I am a nervous wreck. Like I am so nervous. But the thing that I learned from being an actress is no one knows.
No one can.
Right.
No one knows. So no one's really looking and seeing my knees shaking. I feel it. I feel my heart, but they can't see it.
Right.
Like my shirt's not going like this.
Right.
So I've learned how to just function despite having emotions or feelings. Like I've learned to just kind of let myself have them and not make myself wrong for having them or trying to make them go away. Because I've tried to make myself not have sweaty palms. I've tried to make myself, And I can't. I don't know how to make it go away. I just know how to make it to function
to work for
with
you
it
in that moment.
Yeah.
So you've mastered your emotions.
I haven't mastered my emotions because I would prefer not to have them. You know, I would prefer not to have shaky legs in front of 34,000 people.
Okay.
But I've just learned to not let it control me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I've learned to just do it anyway. Do the job anyway. It doesn't matter how I feel. I pay less attention to my feelings.
Okay.
You know,
that's awesome.
And when did you start doing this, like the whole
the spiritual journey in 2000.
In 2000.
Yeah.
And you started as an actress?
No, I started as an actress in '91 when I moved to Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. And then
We're
how did that transition?
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm recording.
Okay.
So how did you transition into being an actress to being a spiritual speaker or a speaker?
Well, in '91, I moved to Los Angeles. I was 17 years old. And I moved to Los Angeles to become an actress and a model, and really to escape New Orleans because I had kind of gone down a wrong path in New Orleans. So I went to LA to become better and kind of straighten myself out a little bit. So I did the whole acting thing for a number of years. Then in 2000, I decided I wanted to give up drugs forever. Like, I was never a drug addict, but I was a recreational drug user.
Okay.
So, and alcohol too, you know, like I never had a problem with it. In 2000, I decided, I was in my mid to late 20s, I guess, and I decided, you know, I had hit a certain level in my career. I had been on a TV show. We did 95 episodes. It aired 5 days a week worldwide. It was called USA High. It was kind of like a Saved by the Bell. But I had also done this whole list of other work, you know, soap operas and guest starring roles and just a ton of stuff. I had bought a house. I had multiple cars, hot rods. I used to fix them up and play around with them. But I never could crack the acting scene. So in 2000, I said, well, I've tried it my way. I want to try a new way. And so what is life like without any drugs or alcohol? And who do I have to be and become to be, like, what does that person look like? Maybe that person can get me to the next level. So I gave up drugs and alcohol. But drugs, the last drug I ever had was December 31st, 1999. Wow. So 2000, no more. And I even delivered both children naturally with no drugs at my house. Okay. So it's just not my deal anymore. But then, so I experienced life, and life completely turned around because now I had to like have the confidence in a social situation to be good enough to just be me without having to depend on a substance to make me feel like I could cope or escape or whatever excuse or whatever reason. Now I just depended on me and who am I and how am I interesting enough, and I just really learned to depend on myself, and that's really when I really began to grow as a spiritual being and just started to figure out who I am rather than what I was avoiding and couldn't confront. Now I started confronting myself. Okay. And so then in 2008, when the economic collapse happened, right. I was pregnant with our first daughter. I was. You were already married to. I was married to Grant, but we had been married for like 4 or 5 years at this point, or maybe 4 years, somewhere around there. But what's interesting is the way I was raised was to never depend on a man. Like, it was really ingrained in me from my father because he felt like he had to give up his aspirations of wanting to be in the entertainment world to have a family. And then when my mother and father got together, she was the sole breadwinner. And it was very hard for her because she didn't have him contributing, but he held her responsible and said she kind of, I mean, this is all in the subtext. No one's verbalizing this. This is just years later having real communications with them confiding into what they really felt was happening. So he never had a job, she did. She never felt like she had the financial person backing her, so she taught me never to depend on a man because, you know, she had to take care of the whole family, and it was financially very stressful. You know, being paycheck to paycheck, you know how it is. I never starved, but We were always worried about money. Always.
So would you say your mom was influential for who you are today as a role model?
My mother and my father.
So
My father was my first role model. I was a daddy's girl from the beginning. He wanted 2 boys, he got 2 girls. I was the youngest, and he made do. And I was happy to fulfill that role. So I did, you know, when boys and girls were equal, I destroyed boys. Like I could throw footballs further, I could tackle. I mean, I'm talking 7, 8 years old. I'm not talking 12, 13 or when, you know, the physical strength. Yes, big difference.
Right.
But when I was a child, I killed boys. I mean, I could punch them, I could hurt them, I could outrun them. I was faster. I could hit grand slams and, you know, baseball. I was very athletic. I mean, anything. You put me to a test against them, I would destroy them. Until they physically outweighed me. So anyway, I go to California, I have this thing, never to depend on a man, from my father, from my mother. So now I'm in a marriage, and I still have this ingrained in me, never depend on a man. I've been Miss Independent Hollywood, I have my own house, I have my own cars. I've always been with guys who I took care of. They never, because I didn't want to owe them anything. I didn't want anyone to think they could buy me. I didn't want anyone to think they had any control over me whatsoever because I was independent. I didn't realize that I had brought that into the first 4 years of our marriage. Like, even though we were married, I was still never depend on a man, which was really horrible. Then 2008 happens, economic collapse. I asked Grant, what does this mean? As we're watching Lehman collapse on the television, and he goes completely white. I say, what does this mean? He says, it means we're gonna die. I was like, excuse me? Does this look like death to you? I'm pregnant with our child. I was like, no, wrong thing to say to me. I don't die. I don't die. I said, you go down to your office and you don't get out until you figure this thing out, but I am not deaf. So he goes to his office, he writes a book, his first book. He wrote, what did he write?
Silver Soul?
No, he wrote, well, it used to be, If You're Not First, You're Last. He wrote If You're Not First, You're Last.
If You're Not, oh wow.
Yeah. So he wrote that in 3 hours. He comes back and he says,
3 hours.
He says, this is a book, it's not going to make us rich, but I know what we have to do and I'll never make you worry again. So at that moment, it was like nuclear devastation going off in our house. We were under the biggest lawsuit we'd ever been in. His business, as he knew it, was over. The economy collapsed, and I'm pregnant with our child. And that's when I had to really look at the drawing board and make a decision. And that's when I decided to trade in my acting career in order to trade up. And I decided at that moment I was pushing all my chips on him. He had a business that was financially viable. I knew if I could back him with my visions, my ideas, supporting him for whatever he needs to get this new thing up and running, I was all in on that. I was all in on us. It was the biggest risk and the biggest thing I had to overcome as a woman in my life, because you don't think I had all the thoughts like, never depend on a man. Oh, here's this guy in 10 years, when you age, he's going to go cheat on you, or, you know, all those things, or, oh, you're giving up your career, you're such a sellout, or, oh, now you're a gold digger, or now you're being taken care of, you're just a ditzy woman. Like, I had all that going on in my head, and I had to just go, you know what? I'm going to stand here and know that I'm strong enough, I'm powerful enough that any situation in my life, I have always landed on my 2 feet. So yeah, that could happen. I could be extremely humiliated, embarrassed, but no one is taking me down. I fucking win. Excuse my language. I win, I'm a winner. So I will never be a victim, no matter what happens to me. I am not a victim. So I said, okay. And that's when I decided to go all on him. Now the irony of the entire situation is that my whole life I thought I had to be independent and never depend on a man. And now the irony is that now I depend on a man and he depends on me. And I have found more strength and power as a woman through a man. I mean, tell me those words wouldn't want to make me vomit 20 years ago.
Wow.
And now I sit here and say them, and I own them, and it is what it is. It's real to me.
Wow, and it's a beautiful
It's a beautiful
truth.
thing. We're very,
transition where you
yeah,
thought
like,
it was just about you, and then you realize no, it's
no,
the power
it's the
of
power
the two.
of the
It's
two.
the power
It's
of
the power
the
of
balance.
the team. And I say in my book, find the one you trust and build an empire. I mean, the love should be a given, but I mean, we've been together for 16 and a half years. This 4th of July will be 15 years. I mean, love is a created thing. We were talking about that earlier. Love is a created thing. I don't have this, I'm madly in love with my husband feeling every single day. I don't live in a fairy tale. If I want that feeling, I have to create it. So when that fairy tale feeling wears off, you have to have the trust. And then the love comes from when you hit your goals and your targets and you fight battles side by side and you have each other's back and then you accomplish victories together. That's the love. That's real love. Right. Love to me is not sitting on a couch making him put his phone up for 2 hours while we watch a movie and hold hands. That's not love to me. Love is you make me a better person, I make you a better person, and we frickin' conquer the world. That's love.
So I'm making what is love to you one of the questions. You gave a beautiful answer, and I'm making one of the quotes. Love is a created thing. I don't live in a fairy tale. If I want a fairy tale, I have to create it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. And you have actually answered who are your top role models, which you mentioned your dad and your mom, and I do believe that your husband also became after.
My husband is my biggest mentor. Like, my biggest mentor to date is Grant Cardone. Like, I'm his biggest fan. He's taught me so much. It started out as my father. I mean, he taught me about the love of sports, and I shoot guns because of him. It's like in my blood. He was a world champion sporting clay shooter with a 12 gauge. Since then I've gone into other areas, but it's my passion. I love that. I mean, he's, and then my mom with the same thing. So it's those three.
Those three. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. You have mentioned a lot of your challenges and how you overcame these challenges, what made you today. But if you have to mention one challenge that you had to overcome to become the person, which one would you say is the one that made the greatest impact in who you are today? Was that 2008?
No.
Was that leaving drugs?
It was I think the biggest trauma that I had was when I was 14, and I write about this too in the book. My best friend who lived across the street perished in a fire, and unfortunately at 14, I was there through the whole thing, and then having to see your best friend with 95%, of them gone was very traumatizing for me. And I did not know how to cope with that at 14. And because my family is very, very, they were, like I say in the book, they're very loving. I come from a very loving family. I was not abused. There was a lot of love in my family, but we didn't express emotions, and we just move forward. We just go on. And so that has been a gift for me in my life. I've always had that ability. But at that time, it was extremely traumatic for me. And I went down this road of drugs and alcohol because I was messed up, like severely messed up. Like I had a bunch of stuff, like I felt like I didn't want to live. I felt like I didn't care. I felt like I wanted to block out all emotions and never let anyone in or love anyone. Even though she was a woman, it also blocked me off from a man. Like I never wanted to hurt like that ever again. So I blocked myself off emotionally from people. And I learned how to have this appearance of being the life of the party and fun, while inside just crushing and crumbling inside. But I had this gift to do a complete dichotomy of what was actually happening. So
did she survive?
No, she didn't survive. No, her and her mother, they both died. And unfortunately, I saw when they came to recover the body out of the house that morning. I don't know why. I just happened. I should have left, but it just happened, and I was there. And so, so it took many years to come out of that